I love Rock of Ages. No, not the band. No, let me show you what I mean when I say Rock of Ages. There's 3 games in the series, and each and every one of them is a work of art, except for Rock of Ages 1, I've never played that one. The main aim of the games are that you play as a sentient boulder with a face, and it's your goal to race down a track and crash into your enemy's castle door. Meanwhile, having to place defenses to defend your own castle from the enemy, who's trying to do the same thing. The enemies range anywhere between Vincent van Gogh and God. And you know what? It's really fun. But then one day I had a really good idea. Man, this would be really good as a racing game. So in this video, I'm going to document my creation of the baseline version of BoulderDash. Get it? Because BoulderDash, and then like the word BoulderDash, which means like crazy and weird. You know, it's like a play on word. You have BoulderDash. The game will be just like the original game of Rock of Ages, but with more of a racing based system, with like item boxes and stuff. One key difference between this devlog series from the last one is that I'm actually going to get a lot done in each video, which means I'm also going to skip past a lot of stuff. Because I mean, who actually would want to watch a video that's just some cringe guy making a title screen for 3.5 minutes?
And then I add a prototype material to it so it's easier to see. Then I add a cube so I can add a game object to play around with in the testing of it. And I add another prototype thing which
Anyway, I started this crusade by choosing the Universal Render Pipeline instead of just the 3D core. The Universal Render Pipeline, or URP for short, is essentially just fancy graphical settings and stuff, like bloom and ambient occlusion, and a very, very faint vignette that I constantly consider removing, and tone mapping. And yeah, this was really cool. For a while. I'll come back to it later, so don't forget about it. So while I was thinking about how to move the player, I realized that all I really need to do is roll a ball around. Roll a ball. Of course, the roll a ball tutorial. It's so simple. It was actually really complicated. Like, I mean, there's so much more than just rolling and ball. There's also jumping and the camera stuff, and actually that is it, but it was pretty hard. But let's cover one thing at a time. I started by importing the new input system, and after getting everything set up, here's where I start differing from the original rollerball character, because it used to have a constant bird's eye view of the ball, and that's no good. What I want is a free look camera. And how do we achieve that? With Cinemachine, of course. This new camera change came with a bunch of bugs and issues though. For one, no matter what I did, when I pressed play, the camera would start moving up and slowly rotate left, for seemingly no reason. And the worst part is, after a while of asking on Reddit and not changing anything, it just started working. No more issues. But why? Next on the agenda is something pretty essential. Right now, when I turn the camera 90 degrees and press W, you would expect the player to move in the current forward, but it doesn't. It still moves forward relative to the world, and this bugged me for a while, maybe 2 days, until I stumbled across a video by my guy,
Nimsoni. Welcome back to
He made a video on how to do this exact thing. Initially, I passed it off though because it wasn't the rollerball tutorial. Eventually, after nothing else working, I gave it a try, implemented it into my code, and it actually worked. Now W, forward, will always be forward relative to the camera. Then after many days, I finally got the jumping working, and I'm not gonna lie, at this part of the project, I'm starting to get the gist of C#. Real quick though, I'm going to pass you over to Past Me and show you one of the bugs that appeared from this, because it's pretty funny. I got it to a point where, look at this. I can jump, right? I can move, left and right. It's not doing that, but it's fine, right? If I move forward, whee! Okay, so remember that thing I said earlier? Yeah, so all is not good at the moment. I spent like an entire day trying to figure out why I couldn't build my game anymore. I believe it was something about burst compiler, whatever that is. But point is, for the rest of this project I'm going to revert back to the stinky 3D core so that I can actually build my project. All is not lost though, because I'm going to be using post-processing to pizzazz my game a bit. But seriously, if anyone knows why this is, please leave a comment explaining it. Next, I decided to get local co-op working, and after a long time with a lot of errors and stuff, I fixed it with a very crude method, and now it works in all its glory, where one person can play with keyboard and mouse, and the other can play with controller. At the moment there is no max speed, so if you start moving, you can pretty much accelerate forever, and that's no good, we can't be having that. So I coded up a quick and easy method that just checks the player every frame to see if they're still under the speed limit, and if they go over, then it goes, nope, slow down there buddy, and keeps their speed at a constant rate. Okay, so this next step, it's very important that I get it right, because now I'm going to be making the models for the boulders. Initially I decided to sculpt them by hand in Blender, but that just didn't end up right, and then I go, why can't I just use the actual models? And then I go, it's so simple, I can just use the actual models. And that's exactly what I did. I just shamelessly ripped not just the boulders, but a lot of the models from the game files. And now we have all of these happy fellows, including 2 that I made myself. There was originally going to be a 10th one called the Crystal Ball Boulder, and it would show you what you would roll next from the item box. But that ultimately got scrapped because it had too many confusing features, as well as some funky shading techniques like Fresnel and stuff. This is fun and all, but I would kinda like some better scenery to look at while I test things, so I hopped over to Photoshop and made a map that I personally thought looked pretty good at the time. I brought it over to Blender and immediately could tell something was wrong, but I just passed it off. Also I took this time to bring in some more models from the original game, like the castle. At this point I had textured everything and made the track, and I still had no idea what a horrible map this would end up to be. I imported it into Unity, and well, I think this footage speaks for itself.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Don't worry though, I make a way better map later. And now it's time for our long-awaited item box. For part of the item box, I made a script with some absolute spaghetti code that makes an object follow a list of game objects based on an index, so that if you play as the default boulder and put an index of 0, then it will follow you. But if you play as the molten boulder, the second one, then you'd have to set the index to 1 for it to follow you. And it's just something I can use to have objects follow others and stuff. But back to the item box. I made a cool shader effect using Unity's particle system. I made a little demonstration for the rocket item, and as you can see, when I collide with the item box, it spawns an arm and a rocket that faces the direction of the camera, and when you press enter, it shoots off. But this model could never do, so I made some models for all the items, and now it looks really good. Although I was getting kinda bored of making items and testing them in the same terrible map, so I decided to make a better one. And so I did. This map is modeled to the general shape of figure 8 circuit from Mario Kart DS, and in practice, this map plays way better than the other map. It also has actual rocks and obstacles. There's also this cool thing you can do where you can surf the sides of the map for extra speed. Anyway, I made this cool armature rig for the rocket, and a pretty good animation for it. Then I imported it into Unity, and it actually looks really good. I also did this for the triple rockets, but I forgot to record it. The item box is just a list of events, followed by a random int from 1 to 10, and then a bunch of spaghetti code that just says like, if the random number is 1, then call the rocket event. If the random number is 2, then call the triple rocket event. And while making the script, I think C# just kind of clicked for me. Because except for some base level random.range documentation, I made that script all off the top of my head, and my other scripts. But the point is, I'm getting a general base level understanding of C# after ages of just not understanding it at all. An issue I'm having with the camera is that if you move forwards fast, then the camera gets further away, which is cool until you realise that if you move backwards, then the camera goes real up close to the boulder. And if it wasn't bad enough, if you're moving forwards and you face the camera towards the boulder, then it just starts freaking out. Not good. But it's fine, I fixed it. It was really easy. And then I made a bomb. It's pretty cool, but just don't touch it. No, wait, don't touch it. Wait, stop. Don't touch it. Now that I have a method for adding a blast force to objects, I'm gonna add it to the rocket. I made some smoke trail and blast effect particle systems. Anyway, I added the blast effect to the rocket, and as you can see, I can pretty much rocket jump with it. I was going to make a new course soon, but then I had a genius idea. Rock of Ages 3 has a map editor. I could just make and test the maps in the map editor, and then recreate it in Blender. And then I had an even better idea. I could give you guys a chance to make a map that would go on to be in the game. All you would have to do is create a map and name the course your username, then just make the best damn track ever. And post the ID of the map in the comments. And then when I come back in part 2, I'll rate the maps and judge if they should be worthy of a place in the game. My only rule is that please don't make levels that rely on any of the things like trampolines or cannons. None of those. But make a good course and it could go right into the game. As well as this, you'd also get a credit in the game. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for now, so subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next part.